What I love to do is introduce the right people to the right people.
I assemble the smartest people I can think of or reach out to carry that conversation, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Please give my panel a round of applause. Welcome. Okay, guys, Jay Martin here, CEO of Cambridge House, and I am joined once again by Tier 1 Silver. I've got Ivan Bebek, the co-founder and co-chair, and Pete Dembicki, company CEO. How are you guys?
Really good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you back because last time we caught up, you were working towards the listing and you just completed a financing. I think I shared in that interview that I received more inquiries from non-resource investors about Tier 1 during that financing than I've ever received. Like real estate investors, people just friends of mine that haven't touched the resource market yet, were hearing about it. So you obviously did a great job marketing. You're listed now. We've got activity on the ground in Curibaya. So there's tons to discuss. But I thought a place we'd start today would just be the silver macro picture, because there's been a lot of price movements, a lot of chatter online, Twitter, Reddit, elsewhere. So Pete, in times like this, like when you're seeing some price volatility, what do you focus on?
Well, we focus on, again, Jay, great to see you. Thanks for having us. But really it is, we're an exploration company. So when people are tying us in with silver, the world needs to find that next massive silver discovery. Who's going to do it? What management team is going to lead you there? What technical team is going to source that out? So on a macro scale, we're seeing a lot of price volatility with silver. Let's not forget where we were with silver just a year ago. So we're at a very good level as it is. And I think any company that's going to come across a new discovery is really going to have that added value that we're seeing in that heightened price in silver. That being said, mentioning volatility, and I've said it before, is volatility is the price of admission for you to be involved and to find that win, whether it's you're buying physical silver and hoarding it in your safe, or whether you're investing in a producer or a developer or even an exploration company like ourselves. There's going to be volatile times. The markets aren't always going to be a tailwind. Nothing will go up forever. However, it's seeing it through. And silver is such a unique commodity. It has a speculative nature, the safe store value, the guard against inflation, and it has its actual use cases. So we don't need to get into all that. We've been through the Green Deal. We've been through the fact that the entire world is shifting into an electronic age. It's going to require so much more silver than there is a supply for. So, to be a part of that wave is extremely exciting. The volatility, the torquey nature of silver and the silver investors, it is what we're about. We're going for that home run. And I think a lot of silver investors understand that.
Yeah, I think they do as well. Okay. And now, Ivan, I want to throw it over to you and just get your thoughts on the election. I know there's not any concrete result to talk about, but from your perspective, what are you seeing, and is anything concerning you, or can you share your thoughts on that?
Well, sure. You know what? I'll speak with actions before words. We're drilling. We got our permit. We're drilling on time. We had this amazing ceremony with the community before we drilled, and seeing that kind of support was awesome, because obviously the community's really excited about what might happen in a positive way should we go through it with a big discovery. But generally, the election was tight. There's two parties, and tight elections are great because nothing drastic can really change if there's a really strong opposition. Since Castillo kind of took the lead and stuff, we've seen, this real calmness amongst all of the Andean mining towns and whatnot. There's been no riots or pushback. So, well advertised, dramatic event. Elections are like that. If you don't know Peru well, they've had 5 presidents since I've been in Peru, with Auryn turning into a Tier 1. Mm-hmm. And, if someone's really going to mess up really intelligent business that's really benefiting the country, then they're probably going to get removed and a new person will be put in. However, the discount that people were advertising to themselves about because of a comment or two that were made during the campaign, nothing like that is concerning to us. We're drilling. We've made some acquisitions since those comments were made. We're business as usual. And, I'd say real simple. If we weren't drilling today and we were not allowed to drill and there's some real issues, then I'd say, yeah, you have concerns, but that's definitely not the case. So very comfortable. It's something we don't even talk about anymore in the office. We're more excited about drill results and what's going to happen next than what happened that wasn't dramatic.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Now let's zero in on Tier 1 silver. So since we last spoke, you guys got the listing on the venture exchange. I know you're working on the OTC. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we should be receiving that listing on the OTCQB within the next couple of days here. That being said, we do have, one of these assigned OTC listings that happen when Americans and US-based investors do trade it. So we do currently have that listing under TSLVF on the OTC think sheets, but you'll see that graduate to the QB in very short order.
Okay. And then on June 17th, you put out a press release announcing that you'd begun drilling. So let's talk about, and that's on the Curibaya project in Peru. So catch us up. What do we know so far right now that you can share with investors?
Well, we know we're not sleeping much at night. The anticipation's been great. And you made a comment about our last financing with the inquiries you were getting with people that want to participate. And, definitely a really exciting launch to the share price. This is a rare opportunity. This is extremely rare by scale, by the footprint of the endowment, of the bonanza grades, all emanating or pointing to one spot. We're drilling. We started drilling a few days ago, a little bit slow at the beginning. We're only about 35, 40 meters down. This is, the Monday after the Thursday we announced. There's always a couple of hiccups till you get her going. And right now we're charging ahead. Rock looks as it should. There's pleasant surprises. I won't comment on the core, but we'll be about another couple of days before we get into the first of 4 huge targets in this hole. And we're going for it. But, a lot of things are happening away from the drill. The guys are finding more outcrop. We cut a lot of roads that we're making for the pads. I think we mapped 170 new veins that we weren't aware of. Some, meter wide and whatnot. I mean, they're going to be assayed now, sampled, and we're actually drilling underneath some of these areas with some of the pads. But these are the kind of things you want to see when you start moving a bit of earth and getting a look down just a little bit deeper than that surface look where you would channel sample or do that. And so for me, the anticipation, the excitement is huge. And, the other comment is we can drill. It may be hole number 10, 12, 14, 15 that really gives you the first major discovery hole, but, we're all hoping that it's the first hole. And having that excitement and being able to say that's how many holes you have, that could take to get to discovery, it gives us a lot of longevity in that possibility of returning the huge success. So I think a lot of volatility will definitely follow suit, but this is about as excited as I've ever been on a drill program for sure. And Bonanza Grade is leading that charge.
Yeah, I'm seeing that excitement, Ivan. I follow you on Twitter and I love it. So, okay, but let's pull on that for a second because you've been through this a couple of times before. Keegan Resources, Cayden Resources, big wins for your shareholders. What are you seeing in Tier 1 that's getting you, put that in perspective for us compared to what you've seen and worked on before?
Sure. Keegan came across our desk. We had a fax, actually. It was at the time, not an email. It was faxed to us. And we had a description of some veins on surface, stockwork veins, so a couple thin veins, a lot of artisanal miners around. And, it looked exciting enough to write a check for 80% of Keegan's treasury. Early days there, Newmont came over, I believe, and they thought, it could be 600,000, maybe 1 million ounces. I pulled the optimistic Ivan move and looked at the whole thing and obviously had a bit more data than they did at the time. I called the 5 million ounce discovery early with the group, and we got over 5 million ounces in that discovery, which was great. And that's a world-class mine. Cayden was a little bit different. We were sampling at the bottom of a pit. Somebody mined a little bit off surface, and what we sampled, 60 meters or so of 2 grams, we drilled right underneath it. It was a lot easier. But both of those would rank in probably about a tenth of the size of the footprint of the scale that we're seeing here when you factor in the address, when you factor in the bonanza grades that we're seeing, and when you factor in how many targets exist within a 4 by 5 kilometer footprint. Keegan had 3 kilometers of strike length. Cayden had about 2 kilometers of strike length, and then a few pods, away from that. But this year is 20 square kilometers. You're on this belt with elephants. We've never been on that prolific of a belt before. And the grades are just staggering. The multi-kilo silver everywhere, up to 300 kilo silver and up to 930 gram gold. I mean, those are really, really high top end grades. And you got to think to yourself, what are the odds of our guys sampling those high grades in a system that's got so many veins like we're seeing here? And then it begs to ask the next question is, are you going to find 300 kilo gold in a drill intercept when you drill underneath it to the source where it possibly came from? And what I like a lot about this project is it's got a 700-meter depth wind target from the chargeability. So it's telling us this thing could also have a lot of depth to that width that we're seeing on the surface. So, and lastly, and this was a theme both at Cayden and Keegan, this project has gotten better with each important layer of data we've taken from it, from the age of the mineralization, from the grades we've been collecting, they've gone up, from the amount of areas that we're finding mineralization. And we're only in the first third of this property. We've got some other really, really good targets around as well. But it comes back to where we are. We're surrounded by major mining companies. This is a hot spot to be in for a world-class discovery. It's also the first ever epithermal kind of showing on this belt. The rest are big porphyries, which is also exciting because you're on the belt of some of the biggest porphyries in the world, and you have an epithermal target. And you're like, wow. And you don't just have a regular one, you have a huge one. And lastly, there's a certain feeling you get when you go drilling. And it's something that's served me extremely well across a lot of companies that I've been an investor in as well as my own. And it's that feeling of, it's going to give. And the reason why I have it here in this case, which by no means is a guarantee of any sort, it's because every line of evidence that could possibly point towards a discovery has been advertised to us continuously from the data we've collected. The real challenge here comes down to one thing. Can we find a focus point of all high grade? Is there pods of 10 meters or 20 meters of this multi-kilo silver or up to a kilo gold almost? Mm-hmm. If that's there and we get there early, it is the kind of return, no matter our share structure or whatnot, state of market, state of silver, state of gold, the time would be epic that we could deliver that huge discovery. So this to me ranks leaps and bounds way above our last two companies or discoveries that we've made in Cayden and Keegan.
Now, given what you know in terms of the scale, in terms of the grades that you've seen, you're in the land of giants, surrounded by some of the biggest mining companies in the world. What has occurred in the past? Has this project been misunderstood? Has it been missed? Why are you the first team to take it seriously?
Oh, great question. So few thin veins in the past, and a company called, it was Wild Acres. They were a group out of Australia. They had it. We had a 3-part parcel. We've talked about this a bit in the past. It was Tech, ourselves, and Wild Acres. We outlasted everybody, and we stayed long, got to consolidate all three to make a longer story short. And when you look at where Wild Acres did their sampling, they got up to 2-3 kilo silver, but there was no sulfides there. That was actually the oxide portion of the system. So there wasn't really the chargeability response just about 500 meters away that we found. Secondly, the actual, everything is covered by a thin layer of dirt. So unless you got within 3 feet of looking down or basically on your hands and knees to look for these veins, you missed them. And so those two factors were a big factor in why this wasn't found. If that previous company had actually done the chargeability, probably they only ran 1 or 2 lines of IP, but if they had gone a bit further north of where our center focal point is, they would have seen this huge balloon down at the bottom emanating all these potential feeder structures to surface. And we'd be talking about their discovery right now, not our potential discovery. So it's common. People come on, they see thin veins and they dismiss them pretty quickly and chasing source unless you have real reason to do it. Dave Smithson is one of our key geologists. He's our SVP exploration. Him and Mike Henriksen are the leaders of our technical team, but Dave got on this early, and Dave had instinct from day one. Absolute credit to him as a very persistent geo. And he basically saw, felt, and physically was there and just felt there was more the whole time. And every time somebody would criticize the project internally in a constructive manner, he'd go out and get the answer, but the answer wasn't adequate. It was way above what people expected for it to be. Oh, this is great, but it's the wrong age. No, it's actually the perfect age of all these major deposits. Or the grade is, there's not enough, there's just some high grade. Well, here's a huge footprint with grade everywhere coming out of one spot, right? And it's really rare to see that. I've been through a lot of discoveries, or I've seen a lot, witnessed a lot. You study them as an exploration investor. And truly here, this one has all the bells ringing, and I know we're drilling as I'm talking now, and I'm excited just thinking about it, and I want to text and see what the next meter looks like. Obviously, I have to wait once a day to get the report, but it's exciting. It's very exciting. Okay,
now Pete, so you're drilling now. I think you're starting with the 10,000 meter program. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Not knowing much about the state of labs in Peru right now, how long will we wait for news flow?
Yeah, for sure. So first 6,000 meters will be our first test of the system, funded through our first 10,000. The state of the labs, well, we have a great relationship with the top lab in Peru. And so everything to date has shown us once the samples reach the lab, we're looking at an average of 2 to 3 week time horizon turnaround, and then for the data to get back to us. Of course, every time we pull a sample, pull a core, it goes through the process of being tagged and bagged and in transport and everything like that. So expecting that 3 to 4 week kind of time horizon turnaround. Again, we're drilling on average. I believe we're trying to get to that 60, 70 meters a day. So it's going to take us 10 to 12 days around there to complete just our first hole, and then add the time horizons on that. So we're thinking mid-late July to start seeing some answers coming out of there. And getting back to what you were saying, Jay, off the intro, that you've never had so much interest from non-resource based investors as to our story. And Dave Smithson, our guy down on the ground in Peru, has said it best: you don't have to be a geologist to truly understand what this opportunity is. And that's the magic of having such a simple story. Is it doesn't take a lot of explaining. It doesn't take a lot of technical prowess to really get into see that size, scale, grade, everything is there. Everything is perfectly set up for us to make this happen. We need to execute now, and we just need to learn more and more with every drill hole that comes free here. So it's so exciting, and we feel that we have such strong supporters out there, shareholders, whether we're hearing from them on forums or social media. Everyone is overly positive about this, and so we love it, and we thank them.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm not kidding. I remember it was actually a lot of fun, because I had friends that I know from outside of the resource business that are quite active in other sectors. Like I said, actually real estate being the key. It was fun walking through a story, actually, just as a shareholder, getting to answer the questions, why did you write a check? And introducing new people to the industry. It's actually a lot of fun. I love doing it. So, okay. Now, Pete, core focus for 2021. What can we expect I know you got 4 other projects, but where is your core focus going to be for the year? What can shareholders expect from you?
Yeah, of course. The drill program at Curibaya is going to be our focus. It's our flagship. As you mentioned, we have a few other projects in behind that we are going to slowly do some work on, get more data back, really define how we want to go after them and how to attack those projects. It's the data that we have received to date is extremely encouraging. And as Ivan said time and time again, the portfolio approach is to add value. Each one of our projects presents that world-class swing. And of course, we're just further progressed on Curibaya, so that's why we're screaming from the rooftops and then we're actively drilling it. So expect more from those projects, absolutely. And we're seeing some really intriguing initial data coming back from them that is getting us excited. But we got to make sure we're not being pulled in 5 different directions here. Focus is Curibaya. Drill results are going to come out, and every time a new hole comes out, the more we're going to learn, the more targeting we're going to be able to do. So that's what you're going to hear mostly out of us for the next year.
Okay, well, I look forward to it. TSLV on the venture. Ivan, Pete, great to see you both again. Thanks so much for coming back on. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit subscribe. I'd love to have you on the team. And if you want to take the next step and go a bit deeper with my content, I publish a free weekly newsletter every Friday where I debrief my portfolio. I distill the top lessons I've uncovered from the guests I've had on this show every week. And I talk about sectors and industries that I think are poised to move, areas that I'm looking for opportunity, and places that I'm allocating capital. I love writing it. We publish every Friday. The link is right beneath this video. Love to have you join the tribe.